So now if you look at metros,
metros,
we need to break it down. It would be easier if we break down a metro system into components and then try to see what kind of expertise would be required to manage it or to be able to implement a particular part of the construction. So now there are different ways of looking at this breakdown. One is to look at what are the different components in terms of, let us say, the stations. So there are stations where the metros or the trains come and stay there for a certain amount of time. Therefore, the kind of issues that go into the planning of a metro station would include movement of passengers coming in and going out and the movement of trains coming in and going. If you look at the planning of stations, primarily the issue is the movement of passengers embarking and disembarking and how we will transport them from the outside. How we will transport them from the outside of the metro area. So first thing is that the passengers will come into the metro area, then they will come to the platform and take the train. On the other side, people will disembark from the train, get out of the platform to the station area, and then leave the metro area. So, one of the parts of planning and construction of stations is the movement of passengers. Similarly, there is this issue of trains which are coming in and going out. There is the related signaling issues and so on and so forth. In both cases, there have to be appropriate provisions for safety measures or emergencies that may arise. So, if there is a fire in this station, there have to be emergency evacuation systems in place and so on. And that goes into the planning and construction of stations. Moving from there, there are maintenance yards where the coaches and the locomotives are maintained. That is, they are overhauled and some kind of minor repairs are carried out and so on. If you look at the movement of trains, the trains move on tracks which are laid on sleepers and the load is then transferred to the ground. So, apart from the coaches and the engines, everything is basically a civil engineering domain story. Whether it is the tracks, whether it is the sleepers, whether it is the ballast or ballastless system in transferring the load to the ground, so far as far as the maintenance yard is concerned, depending on where the maintain yard is. Somebody will tell you that okay, this is the length of the trains which needs to be parked so that they can be cleaned. But the layout and the civil engineering infrastructure that goes with it, water supply, their removal of wastewater from there, and so on, that remains a civil engineering domain issue. Similarly, you look at the operations room and offices. So there is the need for having operations room offices where different people associated with the metro operations will work from, and that has to be again. Continuing with the story, there could be tracks. And now, if you just pause to think about some of the metro systems that you may have seen, you would realize that the tracks could be underground or they could be on grade or above grade. Now, depending on whether the tracks are underground or on grade or above grade, different aspects come into play. And as engineers, we need to understand the issues. We need to understand the issues so that we are able to handle them as they come during design or during construction. A proper understanding of all these things help us plan the system better and ensures that as we go along in the metro construction, we do not have to make sudden changes. Another way of looking at some of these systems would be let us try to divide them into civil structures.